Trillia stood in front of the polished stone mirror inside her private chamber. The soft blue light of Vela Prime's twin moons cast long shadows across her smooth lavender skin. She touched her long neck and tilted her head, trying once again to see what others could not, but she failed, like always in Velan society. Beauty was based on perfect symmetry, glowing skin, and bright hair tendrils. Trillia had none of these. Her features were uneven. Her skin was soft but lacked the shine her kind admired. Her hair tendrils were short and dark instead of long and bright. She had accepted long ago that she was not beautiful, not by Velan standards, but she was clever, organized, and loyal. That's why she served as a diplomatic aide in the royal chambers. Her job was to assist high officials, prepare reports, and guide foreign guests. She stayed quiet and never asked for attention. Today, a human delegation from Earth was arriving. For the first time in history, humans were visiting Vela Prime for possible alliance talks. Trillia had been chosen to assist their leader. She didn't know why the council picked her, but she accepted the duty without question. She walked into the grand rival hall, her long dark robe flowing behind her. The place was busy with guards, advisors, and curious watchers. A soft hum filled the air as the human ship slowly landed. Trillia stood beside High Speaker Valner, her expression calm. When the ramp of the human ship opened, she saw them. For the first time, tall beings with strong frames and warm skin tones. Their eyes were filled with curiosity, and they walked with purpose. Leading them was Commander Elias Ward, a man with silver-streaked hair and a scar across his left cheek. He wore a dark blue uniform with gold stripes on the sleeves. He had a quiet confidence in his eyes. The introductions were formal. Translator devices worked well, and both sides exchanged respectful greetings. When Elias stepped forward, "Hi." Speaker Valner introduced Trillia. "This is Aide Trillia. She will assist you during your stay. She speaks your language and knows our customs." Elias looked at her and smiled gently. "It's an honor to meet you, Trillia." Trillia nodded. "The honor is mine, Commander." She expected the usual look, a brief glance, and then disinterest. That's what most aliens did when they saw her. But Elias did not look away. His gaze stayed kind and focused. The next few days were filled with meetings and events. Trillia arranged schedules, translated details, and answered many questions about Velan culture. Elias often asked her things directly, even when others were around. He wanted to know about the Velan art styles, food, history, and stories. At first, Trillia only gave short answers, but over time, she found herself speaking more openly. "You do not glow like the others," Elias said one evening as they stood in the garden after a long session. "But your skin, it's like the night sky on Earth, calm and soft." Trillia was confused. "On Vela, beauty is measured by glow and shape. I lack both." Elias tilted his head. "Maybe on Earth, we see differently. We value depth, voice, strength, honesty. In your features they are elegant." Trillia looked away. "You are kind, Commander, but I know what I am." Elias didn't argue. He only smiled again. "Then maybe it's time someone helped you see what we see." The words stayed with her for hours. No one had ever said something like that before. The next day, she helped Elias prepare for a major speech in front of the Royal Council. While reviewing his speech file, she noticed a short section about trust and unexpected bonds. This part. "Did you write it yourself?" she asked. "Yes," he said. "It was inspired by someone I met here." Trillia's chest felt tight, though she did not understand why. That night, a strange signal was detected near the council towers. It was a coded message, possibly a sabotage attempt, by a rival species who wanted to stop the human-Velan alliance. Trillia was the first to spot the hidden code pattern. She rushed to inform security and then warned Elias personally. Because of her quick action, the plot was stopped before it could harm anyone. Elias looked at her seriously. "You may have saved the entire mission. I only did what I was trained to do," she replied. "No," he said. "You did more. You cared. You acted." For the first time in her life, Trillia felt something shift inside her. She didn't know if it was pride or something else, but it was new. Later, as she walked alone through the crystal walkway near the moonlit lake, she stopped by a mirrored pillar. She looked at herself again. Her eyes still held the same uneven curve. Her tendrils were still short, but now she also saw strength in her gaze. And maybe something more. Was she truly so different? Was beauty only what her people believed? The reflection didn't answer, but she no longer looked away. The morning sun of Vela Prime rose slowly, casting golden light through the high glass windows of the diplomacy hall. Trelia stood beside a long table, arranging crystal cups and warm nectar for the Earth delegation. Today was an important day. Human and Velan leaders would discuss trade, technology exchange, and defense cooperation. Many powerful voices would speak. Trelia, as always, would stay silent, watchful, and ready to assist. Commander Elias Ward entered the room early. He wore a simple black uniform with a silver Earth emblem on his chest. His eyes scanned the room until they landed on Trelia. He smiled as if he had been looking only for her. "Good morning, Trelia," he said warmly. "You always arrive before anyone else." "It is my duty," she replied, her voice calm. "I think it's more than duty," Elias said, stepping closer. "You care about doing things well." She looked down slightly. Compliments were still hard to accept. The talks began, and Trelia translated whenever needed. She listened carefully to both sides, fixing small misunderstandings and making sure respect was always shown. During a short break, Elias turned to her again. "Your language is complex," he said, "but you speak our words like a poet." Trelia blinked. "A poet?" "Yes," Elias nodded. "You choose your words gently, like someone painting, not just speaking." She had never thought of her voice that way. Later that day, Elias asked her for a private walk through the Star Garden, a peaceful area filled with floating lights and glowing trees. It was open to all guests, but few used it during official talks. They walked slowly under the soft purple leaves. Elias spoke first. "I've met many alien diplomats," he said, "but none like you." Trelia raised one brow. "In what way?" "You listen deeply. You don't try to impress. You make people feel safe," he replied. Trelia stayed quiet. His words felt too kind, too personal. After a pause, she said, "Where I come from, these things are not seen as special." Elias stopped walking. "Maybe your people forgot something important. Beauty isn't just how someone looks. It's how someone is." Trelia turned away. "You're human. You see with human eyes." Elias smiled. "And maybe that's a good thing." That night, Trelia returned to her room feeling strange. She looked at herself in the mirror again, but this time, she remembered his words. "You make people feel safe." Could that be beauty? The next day, she decided to learn more about humans. She borrowed a data tablet from the guest library and began reading Earth literature. The stories were filled with people who were not perfect, but strong. Not shiny, but brave. One story told of a girl who thought she was plain, but who saved her world through kindness. Another told of a soldier with one arm who became a hero through wisdom. These stories made something in her heart grow warm. The days passed, and the bond between Elias and Trelia grew stronger. They sat together during meals. They spoke late into the evenings. She even showed him old Velan songs and ancient star maps. He shared Earth's history, music, and stories in return. Others began to notice. "Is it true?" One Velan aide whispered to another. "She spends time with the human leader. They walk together often. She laughs now. I've never seen her laugh before." Some spoke with jealousy, others with surprise. Trelia heard the whispers, but they no longer heard as much. She focused on her work and on Elias. One evening, as the stars shone brightly above the mountain peaks, Elias invited her to watch a sky dance, an event where floating crystals moved across the sky, creating light trails. They stood together, watching the colors swirl. "Beautiful," Elias said. "Yes," Trelia agreed, then looked at him. "You think everything is beautiful." "No," he replied softly. "Only the things that are rare and true." She didn't know what to say. Suddenly, a message came through the security line. There had been an incident at the Villan outpost near the Groltok border. An attack, casualties. The council was calling an emergency meeting. The room shifted from peace to urgency. Diplomats rushed to change schedules. Soldiers gathered in war rooms. Earth offered help at once. Trillia and Elias were both called to join the team traveling to the border. They would serve as key links between the two species. As they prepared to leave, Elias approached her. "You don't have to come," he said quietly. "It could be dangerous." Trillia stood tall. "I will go. This is my duty and my choice." Elias looked into her eyes for a long moment. "Then I'm glad. You'll be by my side." Trillia nodded. Her heart beat a little faster. As their transport ship lifted into the sky. She looked down at the city lights below. She thought of her old mirror, her old beliefs. She was still the same person. But something had changed. Human eyes had shown her a different world. A world where kindness, courage, and loyalty were also beautiful. And maybe, just maybe, she could believe it too. The transport ship moved silently through the stars. Inside, the atmosphere was calm. But everyone felt the weight of the mission. Trillia stood near the wide viewing window, watching the planets pass by. The stars looked so peaceful, yet trouble waited ahead. Commander Elias Ward walked up beside her. "You've been quiet since we left Vela." Trillia nodded. "There's much to think about," he smiled. "That makes two of us." They were on their way to the border outpost, where the enemy species the Groltok had attacked without warning. The outpost had been built by both Earth and Vela as a sign of peace. Now, it had become a symbol of danger. Trillia had never been so close to conflict. She had studied battles, read about wars, but never stepped onto a battlefield. Yet, she felt no fear. Not with Elias beside her. As they reached the outpost, smoke and damage could be seen from space. The landing was rough. The outpost was still under threat, though the Groltok had pulled back for now. Trillia walked with Elias and the other officers through the broken halls. Bodies had been moved, walls had holes. The smell of burnt metal filled the air. Trillia focused on helping. She used her calm voice to translate between the injured teams. She gave orders when needed. "Help the medics, and stayed strong for those who were scared. Your presence brings order," said one Earth soldier. "You speak like a leader." Trillia shook her head. "I'm only doing my part." But slowly, she realized something. People were listening to her. They trusted her voice, her decisions. No one cared about her appearance. They only saw her actions. One night, after helping move supplies, she found Elias sitting by a dim light. He was fixing a damaged communication device. "You need rest," she said. He looked up and smiled. "Only if you promise to rest too." She sat down beside him. For a moment, they said nothing. The silence felt warm, not empty. "I read one of your stories," she said. "The one about the Earth woman who led a peace mission and brought two warring planets together." Elias raised an eyebrow. "You liked it?" Trillia nodded. "She reminded me of someone." He leaned closer. "Someone I know." Trillia looked at him, then looked away. "Perhaps." Before anything more could be said, a loud alarm rang through the outpost. An emergency alert. The Groltok had returned. Soldiers rushed into position. Weapons powered up. Elias stood quickly, grabbing his gear. "Trillia, stay in the inner hall," he said. "I'm not leaving," she replied firmly. "I can help." He opened his mouth to argue, but stopped. Her eyes were steady. "All right, but stay close to me." Fighting began at the outer gates. Explosions shook the walls. Elias and Trillia moved together, helping command the defense. She gave orders to both Velan and Earth soldiers, keeping them united. During the fight, a blast hit near Elias. He pushed a young soldier to safety but took the shock himself. He fell to the ground, his leg bleeding, his arm shaking. Trillia ran to him at once. "Elias, I'm fine," he grunted. "Just a scratch." But it was more than that. His leg was badly wounded. Trillia helped him up. Together, they limped to cover as more blasts lit the sky. Medics came and began treating him, but Elias waved them off. "I need to stay with her," he said, looking at Trillia. The Groltok attack failed. Earth and Velan soldiers, working together, held the line. The enemy retreated once more. When the smoke cleared, Elias lay resting in the medical room. Trelia sat beside him, holding a cloth over his wound. "You should sleep," she said. Gently, "I will," he replied. "But first I have to say something." She looked into his tired eyes. "I've seen many kinds of strength," he said. "But yours is rare. You came into danger without fear. You guided people with calm and care." "You would have done the same," she said. "Maybe. But I wasn't the one who brought two sides together. That was you." Trelia felt her throat tighten. "I never saw myself the way you do," she whispered. "I never believed I had." "Beauty," Elias reached out and touched her hand. "You do," he said softly. "Not because of shape or glow, but because of your heart, your mind, your soul." Her hand stayed in his, warm, still. "Why would a human say such things to someone like me?" she asked. "Because I see you," he answered. "And I care." Trelia didn't reply. Her chest felt heavy, but not with sadness. It was something new, something powerful. After some silence, Elias asked, "Would you like to see Earth someday?" She smiled softly. "I think I would." Outside, stars continued to shine over the quiet battlefield. Peace had returned, even if only for now. But in the center of that silence, something new had been born. A bond, not made of looks or customs, but of courage, respect, and something deeper. Something neither of them could name yet, but both could feel. The stars above the outpost were quiet, but the ground below still carried the heat of battle. Smoked walls, broken towers, and the scent of burned circuits filled the air. The battle with the Graltok had passed, but the memory of fire remained inside. The medical bay, Trelia sat beside Elias. He rested with his leg wrapped and supported by a frame. Doctors said he would walk again, but it would take time. He didn't complain. He only smiled whenever Trelia entered the room. "You came again," he said as she stepped in. "I told you I would return," she replied. Trelia placed a fresh pack of cooling gel on his leg. Her hands moved carefully. She had learned to help the human medics, and they had come to trust her. She worked calmly, like always. "You missed the morning meeting," Elias said. "I was helping repair the water lines," she answered. "Of course you were." They shared a soft smile. The bond between them had grown strong, even in the middle of war. Outside the medical bay, the outpost was busy again. Earth and Velan soldiers worked together to repair damage. Teams moved supplies, engineers rebuilt walls. Trelia helped everyone translating orders, calming fears, and reminding both sides that they were not enemies, but allies. Some of the younger soldiers, especially humans, began calling her Peacefire, a name that meant calm and danger. Elias heard the name and smiled. "It suits you." Trelia said nothing, but the name warmed her heart. One evening, a message arrived from Vela Prime. The High Speaker himself was coming to the outpost, along with Earth's ambassador. Together, they would review the Alliance's future. There were rumors they might end the treaty because of the recent attack. Trelia felt a chill inside. After all this unity, could politics still break them apart? A meeting was held in the main war chamber. Elias insisted on attending, even with his injury. He walked slowly with the help of a metal support. Trelia stayed close beside him. The chamber was large, with dark stone walls and bright lights. Velan and human officers stood on either side of a long table. At the center sat the High Speaker and Earth's ambassador. "This attack shows weakness," said one Velan general. "The Alliance brings danger to our borders." "We gave help," replied a human commander. "We lost lives to defend this outpost." "There is no trust," another voice said. "Only loss." Trelia listened quietly, but her heart pounded. These words felt wrong. They ignored what truly happened. Then Elias stood. "May I speak?" he asked. All eyes turned to him. He looked tired. His leg hurt, but his voice was strong. "We stood together during the battle," he said. "We bled together. We saved each other. That is not weakness. That is unity." Some nodded. Others looked unsure. Then Elias turned to Trelia. "I would ask someone Who saw it all? Who worked for both sides? Who never took a weapon but still became a shield? Trelia was surprised. She had not expected to speak, but she stepped forward. She looked at both leaders. When the Graltok attacked, no one asked who was Velan or human, she said. They only asked who needed help. She paused, choosing her words carefully. I once thought I had nothing to offer, that I was not strong, not beautiful, not important. But during this mission, I saw that strength is not in appearance, it is in choice, in care, in trust. The room was silent. She continued. This alliance is not perfect, but it is real. And if we break it now, we break the chance for peace. The High Speaker looked at her. His old eyes seemed thoughtful. You speak with truth, he said. Earth's ambassador nodded. And with heart, after long talks, the two leaders agreed the alliance would remain, not just in words, but in action. New joint training centers would be built. Cultural programs would begin, and both sides would honor those who stood for unity. Trelia and Elias returned to the medical bay that evening. The stars outside were brighter than usual. You changed their minds, Elias said. We changed their minds, she replied. He smiled. Still don't believe you're special. She gave him a soft look. I'm beginning to. A few days later, a peace festival was held outside the rebuilt outpost. There were lights, songs, and shared meals. Velan dancers moved with slow grace, and human musicians played calm rhythms. Laughter filled the air. Trelia wore a new robe, given to her by the Earth crew. It was soft silver with a symbol on the chest, a bridge between two stars. Elias stood beside her, his legs still stiff but his spirit high. You look amazing, he said. She laughed softly. You always say that, because it's always true. They watched the sky together as fireworks rose into the night. Colors danced above them, blue, green, gold. It's beautiful, Trelia whispered. It is, Elias agreed, turning to her. But not as beautiful as what we build here. And for the first time, she believed it. Not because of a reflection, not because of others' opinions, but because of what she had done, what she had become. And the way one human, with different eyes, had helped her see it. Months passed since the outpost battle. Peace had returned to the border. But something deeper had also changed between two great species and between two hearts. Trelia stood on the balcony of the New Earth Velicultural Center, looking down at the garden where humans and Velan studied together. Children of both worlds laughed as they ran between the shining trees and glowing statues. She had been asked to lead the center, the first of its kind, a place where knowledge, history, and art could be shared across stars. It was a great honor. But, more than honor, it was a new beginning. Behind her, soft footsteps approached. She knew them well. Elias Ward now walked with the help of a light brace. His injury had healed, but he still moved with care. He carried 2 cups of fruit drink and handed one to Trelia. Still working? He asked. Always, she said with a small smile. He stood beside her, looking at the garden. You built this, you know, he said. Trelia shook her head. It was a team effort, yes. But you were the first to believe in it. She looked at the young students below. Some wore Earth-style clothes. Others wore Velan robes. All of them sat side by side, learning about each other's worlds. It feels real now, she whispered. Like something strong, not just words in a council room. That's because it is real. Elias replied. Later that week, Trelia traveled to Earth for the first time. The air was different, heavier. The skies were brighter during the day, but softer at night. Cities stretched wide, full of sounds and colors. People stared when she walked by, but their faces showed curiosity, not judgment. She was there to speak at the United Human Council about cross-species unity. As she stepped onto the stage, lights shone down. The hall was full. Cameras recorded every word. She took a breath. I come from a world where I never felt seen. She began. My people value shine, shape, perfection. I had none of those things. But then I met someone with different eyes. She told the story not just of the outpost, but of friendship, respect, and courage. She spoke slowly, clearly. Her voice was soft, but strong. When she finished, the room stood in silence for a moment, then rose in applause. After the event, Earth journalists wanted to speak with her. She was shown on human screens, written about in their news. People began calling her the face of peaceful change. She returned to her room that night and looked into the mirror. The reflection was the same uneven features, short tendrils, soft lavender skin. But this time, she didn't search for flaws. She saw history in her eyes. She saw pride in her shoulders. She saw herself. A few days later, Elias met her at a quiet Earth lake. "I watched your speech," he said. "You were amazing." "You think everything I do is amazing," she teased lightly, "because it is," he replied without hesitation. They sat beside the water. Small waves touched their boots. "I used to wonder what you saw in me," Trillia said. "I thought maybe you were just being kind." "I was," Elias said, "but also honest." He looked at her. "You stood against fear, doubt, and pain. You never stopped caring. That's rare." "That's beautiful." She looked at him, eyes soft. "You taught me that beauty has many shapes. Now you believe it?" "I believe in what we created together, and I believe in myself." Elias reached into his bag and pulled out something. It was a gift box. She opened it slowly. Inside was a pendant half shaped like Earth, half like Vela, joined together at the center. The middle held a small mirror. She touched it gently. "It's for you," he said, "to remind you that even when you doubt, the truth is still there reflected." Trillia closed the box and held it close. "Thank you," she said, "not just for the gift, but for seeing me when I couldn't." Elias looked at her for a long moment. The stars above began to shine as evening fell. "You know," he said, "when I first met you, I thought you were distant, cold. But now I know it wasn't coldness. It was quiet strength." She gave a soft laugh. "And I thought you were loud and strange." He grinned. "Both are true." They sat together in silence for a while. No need for more words. Later, back on Vela, Trillia began a program for young diplomats. She taught them how to listen, how to see beyond shape or color. She told them stories not just from books, but from her own life. And she told them this: sometimes the most beautiful things are the ones we never noticed before, but someone else saw them and helped us see too. She wore the pendant often, and whenever she passed a mirror, she no longer turned away. Now she smiled, not because someone else said she was beautiful, but because she finally believed it. Peace between Earth and Vela had grown stronger with each passing season. The alliance, once fragile, had now become a shining example for the galaxy. And in the heart of this unity stood two figures, Trillia and Elias Ward. Trillia now led the Interworld Culture Council. Her calm voice, honest nature, and soft strength made her a respected leader. Even those from distant systems knew her name. But she never let power change her. She still walked through student halls, sat with young diplomats, and answered every question with patience. Elias, now retired from active command, helped train new peace officers. His old battle wound slowed his steps, but never his spirit. He remained close to Trillia by her side, not only in duty, but in life. One bright morning on Vela Prime, the council prepared a special event, the 10-year Unity celebration. Delegates from across the galaxy arrived, even distant worlds who once avoided contact now wished to be part of the alliance. Trillia walked through the Hall of Banners, where each flag of friendship waved in soft wind. She wore a deep blue ceremonial robe with silver thread, a gift from Earth. On her chest was the half-Earth, half-Vela pendant, her favorite symbol. She found Elias near the garden arch. He stood looking at the stars above, even in daylight. "You're early," she said. "I never miss a moment that matters," he replied with a smile. They walked side by side into the great assembly dome. Inside, voices filled the space, cheerful, hopeful, united. When Trillia stepped onto the stage, the room fell silent. She looked across hundreds of faces, humans, Velans, and many others. She saw hope in their eyes. "My people once believed beauty came from light, form, and perfection," she began. "But now we see beauty in peace, in unity, and in each other." She paused, her eyes finding Elias in the crowd. This alliance was not built by strength alone, she continued. It was built by trust, by learning to see through the eyes of others. The crowd responded with quiet applause. Some wiped away tears after the speeches. The celebration began. Music from many worlds played. Food, laughter, and stories were shared. Artists painted in open air. Children from different planets ran hand in hand through the glowing fields. Trelia and Elias stood together under the moonlight, watching it all. "You've built more than peace," Elias said. "You've built something lasting." Trelia turned to him. "Not alone." They walked slowly to the Starbridge, a crystal platform above the lake. It was quiet there. Away from the crowd, Elias took a deep breath. "Trelia, I've seen many things across the stars. Wars, peace, wonders. But nothing surprises me more than how far you've come." She looked at him. "You helped me see myself. You changed my path." "No," he said softly. "You found your own way. I only walked beside you." They stood in silence for a moment. The lake below reflected the stars above. Two lights, one blue, one gold, danced side by side. Elias reached into his coat and pulled out a small case. "I've had this made for some time," he said. Trelia opened it slowly. Inside was a delicate ring, silver and blue, shaped like two stars orbiting one another, a symbol of lasting connection. She looked up, surprised. "Elias, I don't care what your people used to say," he said, stepping closer. "You are the most beautiful being I've ever met, not because of how you look, but because of who you are." He smiled, eyes soft. "Will you stay with me wherever we go next?" Trelia blinked, the lights in her eyes catching the stars. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, I will." They held each other's hands, and for that moment, the universe felt still. The next days were full of joy. Word of their union spread across both worlds. But more than that, people spoke of their story of how trust, respect, and kindness could change hearts and change empires. The pendant Trelia wore became a new symbol, adopted across Earth. And Vela, it was called the Mirror of Unity, a reminder that true beauty and peace come from understanding each other. Years passed. New leaders rose, and more planets joined the alliance. But Trelia and Elias remained symbols of the beginning. They continued teaching, sharing their story, and guiding the next generation. And when people asked about their success, Trelia always said the same thing: empires can rise with ships and armies, but they only last when built on the heart. In a quiet garden under twin moons, an old mirror still stood smooth, clear, and untouched. Trelia sometimes passed it. She no longer searched it for answers. She no longer feared what it showed. Now, she only smiled at the reflection, because it finally matched the truth she had grown to believe. She was seen, she was loved, and she was more than beautiful.